Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Tony Chopper and welcome back. This is part 3 of the review for the Tallgeese Master Grade EW version. Now if you guys missed part 2, be sure to go and click that right here, and hopefully it will catch up on a bit of the things we talked about. Now, let's see how he stacks up and gets put together. Hopefully he becomes a very, very fine model kit. And this is what you get when you put them all together. He looks pretty good. A lot of white on him, but the yellow accents actually offset a whole bunch. The gray doesn't stand out too much, in my opinion, and everything just looks just about right. Now, if you've noticed right here, I have his legs pointed forward quite a bit, and he's very straight. That's because if I put him in any other pose, he will topple over and backwards. He's incredibly top-heavy and back-heavy. The legs apparently don't support too much, especially with the design down here, and also those toes. Very tiny. So, if I put him on the turntable and turn it on, hopefully he will not fall over. The gray actually looks kind of inexistent. I know you might be able to say, hey, I can see it pretty well. When you're actually just looking at this guy, he looks very monotone, kind of, from a distance. So it would have been nice if we could have got that in the standard TV colors. But I kind of understand what Bandai was doing by making it look like that. Now, quickly covering articulation again, the head, since it's on that ball joint, can move quite a bit, bob back and forth, and because he has a rooster thing, he can actually do quite a cool chicken bob. Can't really go back and forth, though. The neck part actually moves with it, so that's good, and it can do full 360 right there. Now, the arms right here, they can move a full 360 as long as you move it far enough out. And also, like I said before, it can reach across a little bit. That's how much it can do without the shoulder joint coming out. And if you separate the joint a little bit, it can go all the way across and touch its other shoulder, which is cool. Let me pop that back in real quick. The rest of the arm is identical to before. Now, the waist right here, it was kind of loose to begin with, but now with the added weight of these things, it falls completely back. In terms of the leg, though, this is where things get a little bit muddled and confusing. It's really nice that these are really small and they can kick forward quite a bit, but remember, this is now attached to it, and when that happens, this moves in a very funky direction. Kind of strange. And also, kicking out sideways, it should be able to go very far out, but because it's connected right here, it won't be able to kick very far out. And when it does, this jams that part up into the waist, so it looks very awkward. In terms of going backwards, again, you can't do too much. Everything's interconnected in this area, which kind of muddles things up. And of course, once it hits the back, everything is done anyways. Now, in terms of the articulation for right here, this part actually moves forward and back like that, and this goes, you can go all the way around because it's on that joint. Now, I've noticed you can point these forward as well. If you do want to go and open these up, you can't really actually have them opened up side by side together. So you actually have to have them at an angle like this if you want to fully open them up. Now, when you do that, it looks like that, and actually looks pretty impressive. But then again, if you want to have them standing up with those tiny feet. Alright, now of course we're not here for just the suit, we're here for his very famous Dober gun. Now it's notched in a very particular way, so you have to get it in just at the right angle. So that means taking off the hand completely and shoving it in first. Then going back to the rest of the body and plugging it in afterwards. Remember, you have to move this thumb because it gets in the way. So when you plug it in, it should look something like... And here is what he looks like with the Dober gun attached. just to the hand right there. I didn't put it to the shoulder mechanism mount. Remember, this is what it looks like. And I find that it actually holds it up quite well. If I turn around a little bit for you guys. If you can see, it actually looks like it's connected inside already, so you don't actually have to put it in there. So if you guys don't plan to do some crazy pointing the Dober gun poses, this actually does a decent job. And I found that with the feet currently, when you spread them apart like this, he can actually do an okay job of actually holding himself up. It's not exactly the best job, but then again, I actually haven't put on the shield yet. So maybe if I put on the shield, things will just topple all over. Alright, with the shield attached, with the attachment point on there as well, or the connection point, he does an okay job of actually staying up. Weight issues aren't really an issue, but the major problem here is with the shield, you do notice right here that it is angled really funny. That's something that is a little bit alarming, and it's really hard to put in the hand. They did it so that it might be easier for you to put in the hand like that afterwards, but I find that it's just a waste of time, and that, quite frankly, it's just terrible. So a way to cheat is kind of just covering it up like that and have him emulate he actually has the shield in his hand. Whereas the Dober gun, I don't think you really need to have the attachment point in. And with it attached, it does look okay as well. It adds a lot more stability to it as well. But there's one thing you might want to be careful of, and that's when you are positioning it. It does get a little bit funky because this joint has to move in a particular way. Same with this point right here. If you don't get in the right point or like right area, it's not actually going to be able to pose for you. So it's nice that they added it on, but it's not exactly overly necessary. But it does add a whole bunch of stability to the kit, which is very, very nice. So, like I said before, the ankle armor is a little bit loose, and when you're trying to move these feet, the thing can come off. So that's a little bit worrisome. Maybe you want to glue that in. Also, the feet down here, I find that they're a little bit loose, especially with this new articulation here with the toe. It's good for getting some poses into sometimes, but most of the time I find it falling back, and I haven't even technically opened up those binders yet, so I don't know how it's going to work. Right now, for ground poses, it's doing a decent job, though. The shield is really, really good, but you want to keep it kind of hidden, and you don't want to put it in the hand. The hand's just kind of a waste if you do it that way. It can raise itself up a little bit like this, so you can get okay poses like that. I find that the Dober gun is a little bit limited when you do put it on, but that's mainly because he has massive sheer size, so you might want to be careful where you're putting this thing. But overall, I haven't had too many issues yet, and putting him into a pose isn't too hard. You just need to fiddle around with it a little bit. Alright, now, remember before we had this action-based connector that comes with the kit? What you want to do is just take off your existing one. I have one for the Wing Gundam Zero. And you put that in there like that, and then you take your Tallgeese and you shove it up here. Now there's notches right here where it's supposed to go and sort of click together. So you just want to line those up, and here he is in full flight mode with everything deployed, with things in the back and also both of those thruster pods sticking out from the sides or the back skirts. Now I've noticed once you put him on an action base, all of those silly things we call weight issues are completely gone, and back heavy, top heavy, that all doesn't matter. He does a very good job of looking cool up in the air, especially with this nice white action base I have him on. And something else I've noticed, as you can just see, the arm just kind of detached, right? I've been getting this really big sense that this is kind of like a big boy high grade. Not quite at a master grade quality. It's very, very close. It does its job really well. But if you've noticed, a lot of the master grades I've reviewed on the channel, their inner frames are kind of all interconnected in some way. But this is reminiscent of some of the old high grade 1100s I've made in the past from Seed, where this point, the elbow joint, is 2 polycaps or something. This is kind of the same feeling I'm getting, mainly because this part connects to here. I'll bring it in a little bit closer so you guys can see. Oops. So right here, this part gets connected there, and that part gets connected as well. It's not all one interconnected arm. It doesn't have that same fluency that you normally have with a structured inner frame, like the model kit I just did, the new Gundam Verka. That thing is very, very solid, and it feels like a master grade, maybe even a perfect grade if you stretch it a little bit more. But that's the same thing for this side as well. This side doesn't come off as much, but you got to be very, very careful of that. And another concern, while you're posing him, try to get the pose that you want before you put him on the action base. That's one thing I've figured out. Because I was having a couple issues with this point right here, the connection point for the action base connector. It fell off a couple times, and it's not the most stable action base connector. When you're moving it around, you probably will notch it off. So you got to be a little bit careful of that. And he looks a little ridiculous like this, doesn't he? Now, in terms of putting in the beam saber, it's relatively easy, right? But you need to remember that you're putting it at a very funny angle into the hand. So just kind of put the beam saber handle in first. And all you want to do is just kind of slide it in here. And once you do, it looks a little something like this, which actually holds it pretty well. And then just got to close it up and put it back with the rest of the arm. And he looks a little something like this. The beam saber stays in there very, very well. Of course, it's such a lightweight thing that it wouldn't actually have any weight issues anyways. But it's actually really, really good. It stands out a little bit because it is that pink color, and there's pretty much no other red or pink area other than right here that you can actually see. So this does a really good job of highlighting and standing out by itself. And of course, you get 2 of these. And here he is on the action base, just so you guys can see what he looks like. He does a very good job of displaying all of his thrusters, and his backside looks very, very impressive. So if I were to display this guy in an area, I would try to give him a see-through glass case or something that rotates or something, just so you can see the back as well. It's one of those kits, of course, that his back says a lot about the kit. The Tallgeese is known for being very, very fast. So that's actually a really cool highlight, and I really like how it actually came out in the end. The front, of course, does do its job very well, and the Dober gun again doesn't hinder the posability too much. You just need to be careful where you got to put it, and if you have to, worst case scenario, just take off the connection point right here. And for the size comparison, we have him next to the Behemoth, the Psycho Gundam. This is the high-grade Universal Sentry kit, and of course his review is up here if you haven't catched already. But he is quite freakishly big, and I love putting him beside all my other kits for size comparison because it's kind of laughable sometimes. And for our next size comparison, we have the Wing Gundam Zero Endless Waltz version. Not the EW, the Endless Waltz version. This kit came out a whole while back. And of course, it's the Angel Wing movie or OVA version, and it's a really, really cool kit that I really like. So, size-wise, they're roughly around the same, so there's not too much going on here. But of course, the wing kits are a little bit smaller than your average Universal Sentry kit, even depending on the timeline or where in the Universal Sentry it is. The wing kits or the wing suits are supposed to be a little bit smaller. Alright, that concludes part 3 for the review for the Master Grade Tallgeese EW version. I hope you guys liked it. Now, if you haven't already, please click this box right here. It'll take you to the playlist, and it'll take you to all the rest of the videos, if you've missed any at all. Now, be sure to come back in part 4 when we put this guy through the ringer. We'll put him through the new grading system I made, the 10.10 category system with the extra, and hopefully he scores a good grade. So that when he brings that grade back home to mom, he won't get beat like a small Asian kid if it's a bad grade. My name is Dr. Tony Jobber, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.